company, any firm, or anyone who is doing a meaningful business enterprise to come and use the exchange to be able to leverage himself and create wealth for all their stakeholders.
So if IBMC taking that, the effort for supporting SME sector in Sharjah, if you are, is there any criteria there, especially that LLC companies that 51% holding by the UAE nationals. So is there any limitation or any restrictions for that? Or the affordability, the fees wise, if they are listing with the objective, India investors will invest into their company here locally and they can grow very fast. So is there any criteria for as their limitations or compliance way they are limited into that for listing?
As we speak, for example, right now we are working with a regulator to put in the eligibility criteria for issuance of bonds, both foreign currency convertible bonds as well as masala bonds which are rupee denominated. So effectively today, for example, say Sharjah, some company here wants to raise some money and he is targeting, for example, he could look at any choice currency. You could look at dirhams, you could look at dollars, you could look at any proper currency including rupee, and all of that will be enabled by us. So that way you can actually go to different investors and you can actually go and do issuances in their currency. So that is one of the biggest advantages being a global center. So we are not stuck to a particular form of currency as such. We are open to all kind of currencies. That's one big advantage. The second thing which we'll definitely enable is that apart from being just offering risk management products, we also want to progress into listing of large companies. So we are going to see, for example, a lot of large startups which are going to come in. Like for example, in India itself, there are quite a few big e-commerce companies which are actually not having their registered offices in India, but they are actually located elsewhere in the world. So we could look at actually bringing those companies to come and do the IPOs out here. Thirdly, we are also looking at supranationals, for example, IFC or the Asia Development Bank, which is the new development bank, which is the BRICS Bank. So these are all agencies which could also raise money and offerings by coming into our exchange jurisdiction, because we have a very large pool of people who could actually invest from. So these are all some of the things which will definitely be bringing in the table. As we speak, this center is now kind of enabled, and effectively now it's a offshore, completely a large center. So this is going to compete with the likes of New York, London, Hong Kong, those kind of centers. So it's going to emerge as a big kind of a place to do business.
Is there any rating system?
There is a rating which is there. For example, today, issuers which are allowed today, for example, in the Indian financial market, needs to be definitely rated. We don't take unrated bonds. Out here, for example, if you go to jurisdictions like Luxembourg, you'll find a lot of unrated bonds. Even Singapore, for example, allows unrated bonds to go in. Even London Stock Exchange allows unrated bonds. So we'll have to look at a segmentation of what is the rated side, which is that's exactly how we'll have to differentiate the boards. So people are also understanding that there are different risks with the different boards. So if you have an unrated kind of a board, then obviously there is a much more risk in terms of the unrating. But again, practically today, rating itself has become a big business. You can't truly rely on just rating, because there are countries which have much better healthy fiscal position, which have been given lower rating, and so on and so forth. So it's actually, in some sense, also if you look at the financial crisis, at that time rating agencies also lost a lot of credibility. So effectively the thing is, this is something which the regulators will have to balance out. To begin with, obviously we'll start with a little conservative approach of getting rated companies so that we have some reputation risk which is kind of avoided. And over a period, we'll probably liberalize and get into more unrated stocks.
Where do you see especially SME sectors in speculating matters if it's done?
SME sector? Yeah. SME sector today are basically small companies. Here, actually, the purpose is like what Edward mentioned. The purpose is basically these are for informed investors, not for the layman investor, because they have to really put out a risk capital. Out of 10 SME companies, 8 will fail. And 2 will succeed beyond the imagination, and those 2 will probably give you returns which would have wiped off even the 8 companies' failure. For example, in 1970s, NASDAQ used to be virtually like a small exchange only. It was for SMEs and the technology sector. And Intel was probably one of the first SMEs which they listed. And today we know Intel is one of the top Fortune 200 companies. And in some sense, these are the kind of stories which can come up. But for every 8 failures, there will be 1 or 2 success which will probably take it off. And the purpose there is not trading, because with these companies, you have to be patient with your investment. You can't expect that today you put in money, next day there will be return. But again, I also highlighted, like for example, in our SME market in BSE, we started with a 100-point index in 2012. And today in 5 years, the index is standing at close to about 1100. So which means 11-fold increase on a general basis happened, which means if somebody had systematically invested in every SME IPO and held everything in that proportion of their market capitalization, is $100 would have become $1,100. So that's the potential which is there. So this is a high risk, high reward kind of a situation, because small companies will grow at an amazing pace. But if they fail, they fail.
Very interesting. Any other questions from the audience? Mr. Anup, would you like to field some questions yourself?
Hi, good evening. My question is to Mr. Mohammed. I basically want to find out about the 3 free zones that you were talking about. The publishing free zone and the media free zone, is it going to be the same?
No, publishing free zone is actually for publishing houses. And the media free zone is something else. The media free zone is now still in the master plan phase, but the publishing free zone will be operating in few months. It's ready.
So what will be the difference between the media free zone and the publishing free zone?
And media, you know, now media is social media. Media can be
the new media.
New media, TV. Published media, but in the publishing free zone, we are mainly targeting publishing houses, where they will be provided offices and warehouses to publish books and then distributed from Sharjah to the whole world.
Okay. And in terms of the research and technology park that you were mentioning, you took the specific name of Tesla. Is it confirmed that Tesla is...
No, I said we might see Tesla coming one day to the Innovation Park. We hope so.
Okay. And that is the same as RTI, right? That RTI, that Research and Technology Institute.
Yes.
And also I wanted to find out about any plans to have anything specifically for startups in Sharjah?
We actually have 2 different initiatives for startups in Sharjah. We have one called Shira', which means sale, and it's under the American University of Sharjah. It's open for all nationalities. They provide mentorship. They do different workshops for startups. And then we have another initiative, which is for local young entrepreneurs, where they get funded through Sharjah Islamic Bank.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My question is to Mr. High Excellency. We have spoken 2 years back in KMCC National Day seminar, sir. I don't know whether you remember. Anyway, first of all, I would like to express our sincere gratitude for all the support that the Sharjah government and the government of UAE is offering to the business people like us. My question is like, usually the license renewal procedure in Sharjah is very easy. But I had a very, maybe a bad experience. That's why I am saying it to His Excellency. I started a yoga center recently because I am basically a doctor practicing traditional medicine of India. And I am having a traditional medicine center in King Faisal Road. And I recently started a yoga center in Mobila. So, first of all, I took the flat and then I went to the government agencies for the approvals and other things. Then it got delayed more than 8 to 9 months. The problem, you can understand His Excellency, like a businessman takes the place, then afterwards he has to hold the place for around 8 to 9 months. So that means we are losing out the rent. So if some mechanism can be there where a single window system for the new businesses, if it can be provided by the government, just like, for example, we can renew the license now if you go to Tastil. So the same way, if a mechanism can be worked out, I think small entrepreneurs like us will be benefited. So a single window system where the entire questions will be answered, all our plights can be presented, and our grievances can be addressed. If such a system can be there in some agency or some agency like that can be formed, it will be good, I feel. And second one, in case if we find any government employee complacent or if we are having any complaints, is there any grievance redressal system in for Sharjah government? Like if we are having some grievances, some complaints, is there any agency or somewhere we can express our grievances and we can put the complaint? So this is my second question.
Thank you. Let me start by answering the second question, then I'll go to the first one. For the second question, I think that's why the government of Sharjah decided to come up with Invest in Sharjah office. Our aim is to help investors, is to listen to investors and to ease the process of doing business in the Emirate of Sharjah for the investors. I mean, we listen to everyone, we listen to all the complaints, and if there is anything then we can help with, we send a letter to the concerned department, like if it's related to Sharjah Economic Development Department, Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority, etc. So we receive I would say the comments from the investors, and then we pass it to the concerned government department. So you can write to us at any time. I will share my details with you afterwards. If we go back to the first question, what was the reason behind holding the rent or the apartment for 8 months?
Actually, I took the flat. The flat had already an interior. And this interior, the building owner had told me that it is approved. And I took over the place. Then after taking the place, I came to know that it is not approved by the government, the interior changes. So what happened is I was trying to make the people in the municipality understand that, because it was not my fault. Otherwise, if a place is taken at that time itself, some mechanism is there, like whether this will be suitable for a business which I am going to start. If the government official can come and firstly say, then we can save that embarrassment, like we will not be taking the place. This what happens is we take the place, we pay the rent, then only the taptish and other things happens. So what happens is sometimes 2 to 3 months delay is happening. So big businesses are okay, but a small-time entrepreneurs, small-time investors or new investors, they find it a little difficult. So a mechanism where if from the government itself, one person can come and then say, okay, I am planning to start one yoga center. Sir, whether it is okay. If we can give the report there only, first itself, okay, this flat, these changes you make, then it is okay. If that way, if they are saying, it will be much more convenient for us. This is the idea that I wanted to put you, sir.
So let me tell you what is the process of obtaining a trade license. First, you go and sign, or you choose a location. Then you take it to before taking it to the municipality for attestation, you go to the Sharjah Economic and Development Department and they send an inspector to see if the place is fine for your activity or not. In this process, the inspector will tell you whether you can operate from this place, yes or no. If he says no, you can immediately go and just tell the owner of the building or the landlord, I cannot complete my license process in this particular apartment. So I think the government has a mechanism that protects the investor. Maybe the landlord or the owner of the building cheated you by a way or another. I think so. But I assure you that there is a mechanism where before obtaining the trade license, someone from Sharjah Economic and Development Department go with the investor, check the place, do the right inspection, then he gives you yes or no. But I'll speak to you afterwards.
To add on that particular point, I think, sir, there is a single window solution Sharjah government is bringing with Dubai Sharjah Healthcare City. I think that has been categorized as the largest healthcare city by the World Health Organization. If you can just give us a few points about that thing also, I think it will give a single window solution coming for all the healthcare hospital needs in Sharjah. It is one of the largest in the world.
As you know, all free zones in Sharjah and United Arab Emirates have a single window solution because they are not linked to the economic development departments. They are not linked to the ministries. They obtain their own license. They have their own approvals. They do their own inspections. So we have the healthcare city coming up. It will be, of course, a single window solution. All the licenses, the approvals will be given from the healthcare city itself. Same goes for other free zones, the publishing, the research technology park, and also for the existing free zones. I mean, if you want to obtain a trade license in Hamri free zone or in Sharjah International Airport free zone, you can get the license within 2 hours only. Thank you.
That's a commendable speed. Any more questions?
My question is to His Excellency. You mentioned earlier about the technology innovation free zone. Is it going to be similar to Dubai DTech, Dubai Technology Entrepreneur Center for Youngster Startup?
Similar to what? Sorry?
Like there is a free zone in Dubai called Dubai Technology Entrepreneur Center, DTech. It's close to Silicon Oasis. Is it going to be the similar?
I'm sorry, but I haven't heard about the free zone that you mentioned. But I think this is linked directly to the American University of Sharjah.
Okay.
They are focusing on research and development, and then they are looking at technology and innovation. I heard that now they are talking to SAP company. It might have a research and development. SAP might have a research and development center in Sharjah.
So it's more focusing on research and innovation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
One more dynamic question.
I will ask that dynamic question.
Please.
To conclude that, so actually we were focusing more into SME sector. Sharjah is also more focusing to support SME sector. So from India and Netherlands, so we have 2 countries left and right now. Both are saying about the stock exchanges that is important for the economical growth and companies' growth also. Startup stock exchange, Sharjah companies, if approaching tomorrow, you were saying about nearly 4 to 6 months time for listing purpose. Again, what one investor was saying that he was taking that 8 to 9 months time because of the right direction they were not getting. So what kind of support, such support, Sharjah SME companies will get if they are approaching startup stock exchange to list at Netherlands and performing from here?
It's a very good question. So if a company wanted to list today, that was a local Sharjah company wanted to list today, it could. My premise and my offering is that I think a local company wants to list on a local exchange. But Sajid raises an interesting question. The whole point of my exchange is to provide help and assistance and services to these companies so they can onboard the superhighway tomorrow morning and get those services. The quotation and the trading of the security is a whole different matter because they have to go through a process. We have to go through a listing committee and they have to supply documentation, etc. And that does take time. So for me, the process locally here would be partner up with somebody to bring the exchange. Within 2 weeks, we could start onboarding companies, but you couldn't trade the security that quickly. They could benefit, Sajid, from the services, but you couldn't trade the security. So if they just wanted to get the superhighway services and they wanted to be visible, that could happen very quickly. If they want to trade the security, it would be, if they wanted to do it locally, it would be 4 months. If they wanted to do it quicker than that, it would be still 1 or 2 months. So I hope that answers the question.
What about Bala? How you can support SME?
So I will just add a small perspective to it. SME companies have to exist, they have to be doing some business because investors will not trust their money on something which is a completely new one. Startups will require some kind of ecosystem where they have to show some ideas which goes through an incubator which is tested, and then investors could back it if it's a completely novel idea which can be done. But more importantly, from a stock exchange perspective, what we are trying to do is, for example, if he's a doctor, he's doing this yoga center, for example. Now, if he wants to basically expand his business, he wants to grow it, he sees that out here in Sharjah, he has put a particular center, it's working well, he wants to create, say, 10 more such centers. Now, he is constrained with capital. Now, what could happen is, his company, if it's listed in the exchange, what will happen is, the entire share capital of the company will become a currency for him. He can then pledge that share with the bank, he could pledge it with anyone, and he could actually raise money. So effectively, it will become a leverage. So effectively, you are converting what you own as a wealth into a currency form, and that will definitely help. That is exactly what, as an exchange, we can do. We can convert that income opportunity into a wealth generating activity. So this will allow him to expand. So now he is no longer a constraint of capital. We have given him a mode by which he could do that. And then when he opens another center, his capital expands further. Okay, because he has more than his. So this way, we are actually promoting these companies to actually increase their business. And when you increase the business, job opportunities will increase. Your GDP of that particular area, that will grow. So effectively, in some sense, the exchange is playing the catalyst role to enable those entrepreneurs to be able to use their own entrepreneurship thing into actually financial capital. In India, what we have done is we have done a process where the exchange is the one which approves it. We have a well-defined process. Today, a company which is prepared well with its financials and all that, if it starts the process within 45 days, or at the most by 60th day, they're done with the process and they're listed. Cost-wise, typically, it is also a function of how much money you raise, because that is what becomes the percentage. We have realized that if somebody is raising about $1 million in equivalent terms in rupees, there is a minimum cost because there is a fixed part of it. But if he raises $2 million, the cost is still probably the same. There is hardly a marginal increase. Yeah, absolutely. Because there are certain costs which you will have to give to intermediaries, to the merchant bankers, to all the people in the system like your registrars, custodians, all of that, which is anyway a fixed part of it. So if you are actually on a $1 million, your cost will become something close to about 5 to 6%. So if you actually increase it to 2 million, 3 million, then the cost will start dropping to 3, 4%, or probably even 1 or 2%.
Connecting to that, I cannot leave Mr. Mohammed alone. So we have 5,000 plus companies in India. They were facing that the compliance issue when they are coming down here and starting the company, the 51%, 49% that the operational control they were losing, that was conflicting in between the both countries, India and UAE. So here IBMC, the legal division, came up with a bench as a supplementary agreement where these companies can directly come. We are inviting, they can come anytime. That's a exercise report also there. In such a situation, we have made this window to come here to UAE or Sharjah. How Sharjah government can support through India UAE B2B center we have started, where we can convey this message that the government is also giving such, the invitation to all these companies, how you can able to support Indian companies. Second thing, you are more into foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment, the FPI category where, like India and other countries, allowing that no individual directly they can able to come into that situation. Or as a fund also. If fund is creating from a DGM or DAFC or Mauritius or BVI, what kind of transparency you are giving for the foreign direct investment to the investors?
Well, for the first question, we have in the free zones alone more than 7,000 Indian companies. I think Sharjah government is keen to attract more and more Indian companies. The facilities are there. In the free zones, they have no issues with the ownership. They can own 100%. And then when it comes to the 5149, the thing that I forgot on the podium, which is a solo company with a local sponsor license only. You know the scheme where the local partner is a silent partner and his name appears on the trade license as a local sponsor only, and then the foreign investor owns the company and has a control of 100% of his company. But of course there are some other restrictions on not on ownership but on number of employees, number of visas given on that particular trade license. The incentives is lower than the ones given on the limited liability company or the LLC companies. This is to answer